Here's a little eBay bargain hunting secret. Look for ads that are listed incorrectly. These trains are actually not by Weaver, Lionel, or MTH. They're Williams, and they're F7s, not F3s. So this ad skated by a whole lot of potential bidders, which kept the price low, which is good for me, because now I am the proud owner of 3 Williams F7s, 2 powered, and 1 dummy unit, all of which are pretty much basket cases. But it was still a good deal. You can find these trains now at the Cincinnati Museum Center, but when I was a kid, they were located at the central offices for the Cincinnati Gas and Electric Company in southwestern Ohio. It's a holiday tradition that was first sponsored by the Baltimore and Ohio Railways in 1946. It was this passenger set here, or one very much like it, that made such a lasting impression on me. There are a few manufacturers that make trains that look similar to the ones from the Duke Energy holiday display, but they are very expensive. And they're also pretty long. I don't know if these would even navigate the smaller curves that I have on my layout. These are prices from eBay in January of 2022, and I just can't justify spending this kind of money on what's essentially a toy train. So don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Baltimore and Ohio had 2 different paint schemes to differentiate between their freight engines and their passenger engines. A dark blue body with yellow stripes seems to me to be the scheme for their freight engines. And since I already have a Williams F7 in what I'm assuming is the passenger paint scheme, I'm going to turn my last eBay find into a freight engine. This was supposed to be a simple and quick project. 2 colors, some decals from the store, and done. But instead this happened. After the first coat of blue ran a little bit, I came back with some wet dry sandpaper and tried to smooth out areas, and I reapplied another coat of blue Rust-Oleum spray. And it's mostly the areas that I had wet sanded that reacted poorly to the second coat. This crinkling happened. I don't know if I should have let the original coat dry longer. I don't know if I sprayed the second coat on too heavily. But whatever the reason, I'm stuck with a shell that has this weird texture all over it. I went online, and one possible method for removing paint is using this Easy Off oven cleaner. I'm going to give it a try, and hopefully, since this blue paint is so fresh, it will come off pretty easily, and I've been told that the Easy Off does not affect the plastic behind the paint, so we'll see. I think I would call this little experiment a success. Most of the blue paint is gone. The tough old green Williams paint is still there, but the detail is also still there, and that's one of the big things I was worried about. It's too cold to paint outside, so I'm wearing a mask and spray painting in my basement. The finish this time came out pretty good, except for just a little bit of orange peel on the roof. Maybe I'm just too close with the spray can, or I'm too impatient and I spray the paint on too heavily. But at this point, I'm just going to live with a little bit of this texture on the roof and move on to the bottom stripe. One thing that I always try to take into consideration with these projects is the cost, and I try to save money whenever I can. But one area where it pays not to skimp is this masking tape from Tamiya. It costs a little bit more, but you end up doing these touch-ups a whole lot less. Some yellow paint seeped underneath the tape around those handrails by the doors, and that's not too bad. That you really can't get the tape tight enough around those small cracks and crevices to avoid some amount of seep-through. But this amount is completely acceptable, and when this touch-up is done, I don't think you'll even notice. I bought these decals on eBay, and they were pretty cheap, and there was free shipping. $6.85 isn't bad, and I wish they were yellow, because I think the lettering on a locomotive like this would have been yellow to match that yellow stripe, but white can work too. And these were made for a freight car, a box car I think, and the size is just about the right space it's the right size to fill this space between those porthole windows. So white, yellow, and navy blue, that looks pretty good together. Once they're trimmed pretty closely, I use this decal setting solution. The decals have to go over some vents on the side, and the decal setting solution will soften the decal and let them conform to any of those raised areas. When it's finished, I'll give it a clear coat, and hopefully this will, look pretty good, almost as good as if they were applied with paint, like at the factory. So let's talk expenses. This was one of 3 trains I bought at the same time, so $17.33 for just this one, $6.85 for decals, shipping $5.08, some spray paint brings us to $33.74, which is pretty acceptable, I think. It was also nice that this engine, even though it was in bad shape, it was relatively complete. So all the horns, the marker boards for the front, the headlamp lens, the interior glass, the porthole glass, everything was present and could just be reinstalled once the paint and decals were finished. Those pieces seem like they wouldn't be very expensive, but if you had to buy them all separately, it would add up very quickly. So of the 3 engines that I purchased, none of them were working. 2 were motorized, 1 is a dummy unit. So at this point, this is just going to be a static model on my shelf, and fixing the motorized frame will be a different video somewhere in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'd also like to say thanks for watching. And until next time, this has been Bob's Workshop. Take care.